Hey guys, Coach Ben here, bigbenchas.com, and today we're going to talk about where to actually place your feet when you're benching. So, what I'm going to go over today, I first just want to caveat this by saying there's a lot of ways you can place your feet when you bench press. There's a lot of different leg drive styles. The way I am going to show you right now is how I like to coach majority of our lifters to hitting new bench PRs. I like to bench through the hips. And this is different than some of those traditional bench press styles that you see where you'll see some lifters place their toes back with their heels up and it's a lot of quad drive. You'll see a lot of lifters also place their feet rather close in front of them and think about leg extensioning away from the floor. How I'm going to teach you today involves using our butt, using our glutes, biggest muscle that we have in our body, a powerhouse, regardless of it's squat, bench, or deadlift. I'm a big fan of using the hiney. So that's what we're going to do here with this style of leg drive. How we're going to tap into that is by getting our feet out. Now, if you've ever seen myself bench, I go very wide. Not everyone is going to even be able to achieve a very wide position. I find this as an instant turn on for people. Once they see me bench, they're like, no freaking way, Coach Ben, can I do what you just did? And then that's the end of that. But there's a lot of ways in which you can place your feet individually where you don't have to be so far tucked back that it feels like your hips are gonna break off. So I'm gonna show you how to go about that and what I coach my lifters on, what I'm looking for. And very simply, it's going to come down to your hip mobility. What are your unique restrictions? If you're really tight in the hip flexors, you might have a hard time just getting your feet down to the floor. Something that does help with that, if you truly cannot get your feet down to the floor well, heeled shoe. This is where I'm okay with you benching with a heeled shoe, a lifter that you might use when you squat, or even boots. You might see boots get tossed on the bench as well. That'll give you that additional height. Most lifters do not need that because it's gonna just allow you to have more hip extension to where your butt can actually pop off the bench. So when we're setting up, regardless of your anatomy, your restrictions with mobility, what I'm gonna coach the lifter to do is start walking your feet out until you start feeling some tension in your groin and then the side of your hips. And what I like to say to lifters is don't get stuck in the splits. All right, what that means is imagine if you did a split. Eventually, I might be able to get lower and lower, but I'm gonna get stuck. At a certain point, I'm gonna have so much passive tension being in that position that I literally cannot move and I will not be able to get out of that. All right, only way is to fall out. We don't wanna recreate that when we're getting our feet set up to bench because it can very easily happen when you're bringing your feet out. I just want someone to go to where they start having some tension through the groin, some stretch here in the adductors, and then starting to feel their hips engage passively. Meaning when we place our feet, we're not even actively trying to push back. We're not trying to drive our thighs out yet. We just feel tight from getting into this position. That's where we want to be. Don't get stuck in the splits and don't be soggy. Call this soggy leg drive, soggy knees. If we're too close, you can quad drive all you want, but you're not really tapping into the powerhouse that is the glutes, right? I want to make sure I at least get out enough to where when I drive my thighs open, there's not all of this dead space, right? If I drive my hips open here, I go until I can't go anymore, but I'm not creating any good tension and stability through my hips. Showing you the final product, we'll go through the setup process. We'll bring the feet down. I will coach my athletes to walk their feet out 1 foot at a time because you always need to be driving back to maintain this arch, to maintain this shoulder position. As soon as you stop driving back, you flatten out. All right, you have no drive back. The arch immediately collapses. You lose all that tension that you created in the setup. So we always need to push back. Always have a foot pushing back as you're repositioning. I will walk my feet out until yeah, this is tight. This feels good. There's tension here. I'm not stuck in the splits. I can still move, and I'm going to drive my thighs out from there, and I'm gonna squeeze my glutes, all right? Now we are activating real powerful, big muscle group in the hips, in the glutes. So this is gonna take a lot of energy. You're already putting so much energy into the setup, getting into this position. You should be exhausted now when you start driving your hips open, squeezing your butt, and throwing yourself through the back wall, okay? And I find that's significantly more leg drive than I could ever begin to try to recreate just using my quads alone. And if you have issues with your knees, this is gonna help you spare a lot of that discomfort that you might get through the knees. So that's how you bench with the hips. That's how you go about finding foot position. So you can see it's gonna look very different depending on the person. And even with a person like myself, I'm gonna warm up to a wider stance as I go. The actual mobility work that I do of getting into this stance, there's some things that I like to do before I hit the bench to help, but ultimately putting myself in this position over and over as I'm warming up is the mobility work for getting into this wide position. I'm doing it over and over. So by the end of a session, by the time I'm hitting my top sets, I'm at my widest foot position. And you'll see on a bench unit such as this, one of the major issues I have with our bench unit here, my feet will actually come back to where I'm on top of this additional band peg here. Where the footer comes out, I actually get on top of that. So I get pretty wide. You might not be that wide, but it's about finding the balance for you. Remembering to squeeze the glutes. So many put themselves in this position, they drive out, but they're never actually squeezing their ass. You need to squeeze your ass in the process. That's huge. This will help you keep your hips down. This will help you maximize your leg drive. You're tapping into a big old muscle group. Use it. We build it all the time with squats and deadlifts. Let's start using it when we bench to help ourselves move more weight. There you have it, guys. Coach Matt.